The Buffalo Bills are currently 7-4 and hanging on to the final AFC playoff spot. But are they true contenders or just pretenders waiting to be exposed? I'm talking about this and so much more right here on the Rated Rev Show. Let's get into it. What's going on, Bills Mafia? It's your man Rev here, and you are tuned in to the Rated Rev Show. And I have a question for you all. Are the Buffalo Bills, who are currently 7-4, true contenders, or are they simply pretenders waiting to be exposed? I know a lot of people are wondering what the Bills are right now. Like, who are they? Are they this team, this juggernaut team that we've seen dominate the AFC East and really be a true contender for the AFC representation in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs for so many years? Or are they slipping off? Have we seen the beginning of the fall of this era under Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and Josh Allen? Or are we simply tripping? Well, I'm going to make a case for both sides on this episode. A case for those who believe that the Bills are contenders, and a case for those who believe just the opposite, that the Bills are pretenders and we're all just waiting for their ultimate demise. Some even believing that the Bills will miss the playoffs altogether. So let's talk about it. Currently, the Bills are the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs. So if the playoffs were to begin today, the Bills would hold the final playoff spot at 7-4. They're currently behind the Los Angeles Chargers, who sit at the 5 seed at 7-4, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 7-4 and hold the 6th seed. So what does this mean for the Bills? Well, they're not currently first place in the AFC East. The 1 seed seems to be far out of reach. Currently, the New England Patriots are not only leading the AFC East, but they have a firm grasp on the 1 seed right now at 10-2, far ahead of the Buffalo Bills. And the Patriots currently have one of the easiest, if not the easiest, strength of schedule and strength of victory in the NFL. So it's hard to see them falling off track right now. Although they are finally, I wouldn't say finally as if it's a good thing, but they are now feeling the impact or about to feel the impact of injuries. Losing their left tackle, Campbell, this previous game here to what looks to be a knee injury. So we'll see what the Patriots do from here on out. But needless to say, they have a good cushion ahead of the Buffalo Bills right now. So let's make the case. Let's make the case right now for the contenders. The Buffalo Bills being contenders, not just in the AFC, but I'm talking about Super Bowl contenders. They ain't left, ain't nothing happened. They're still who they've always been. So for one, we have to take a look at some of the numbers, right? I mean, we have to. So let's take a look at Josh Allen's stats this year. And I really want to compare them to last year's numbers. And then I'll let you decide what you think. So currently, Josh Allen right now, in 2025, after 11 games played, he has 2,709 passing yards, 18 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Then he has 371 rushing yards and a whopping 10 rushing touchdowns. Now, a lot of people would say that Josh Allen is having a bad year, an off year. Like this year that we've seen so far of Josh does not look like the Josh that we're accustomed to seeing. Mr. MVP last year That Josh doesn't look anything like this Josh right now. Then let me test that. Let me challenge that belief. Because again, this year's numbers you'll find to look very similar to last year's. So again, this year's passing numbers, Josh Allen, 2,700 yards and 2,709 passing yards to 18 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, 371 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns after 11 games played so far this year. What is it? What did he look like this time last year in 2024, the MVP season? Check this out. Last year, Josh Allen, after 11 games played, 2,543 passing yards, 18 passing touchdowns, the same, 5 interceptions. Okay. And I think that's the major difference, right? We look at Josh right now. He has 9 interceptions. He's 4 ahead of where he was this time last year. The rushing yards, last year, Josh had 316 and just 5 rushing touchdowns. So when you look at the stats comparatively, Josh Allen this year versus Josh Allen last year, you can see, even though it doesn't look like, even though it doesn't feel like it, this year's Josh Allen's numbers are ahead of what they were last year at this same time. I mean, Josh is passing for almost 200 yards more, the same amount of passing touchdowns, again, 4 more interceptions. But let's look at these rushing yards. Josh Allen has 371 rushing yards now compared to 316 last year. Nearly 60 yards more on the ground. But then here's where things get really interesting. Josh has 5 more rushing touchdowns now than he had this time last year. That's crazy. Crazy. And in fact, let me just look at something here. When we're talking about Josh's rushing yards and his rushing statistics last year, Josh Allen last year had a total of 12 rushing touchdowns. 12 rushing touchdowns last year. Josh is currently 2 away from that number. Now, maybe that's not enough for you. All right, so let's take a look at some of the offensive rankings. So far, the Buffalo Bills this year, offensively, they rank 5th in scoring offense, averaging 28.3 points per game. Now, what did they do this time last year? All right, let's take a look at some of those stats, some of those numbers last year. Okay. Now, again, we're talking about whether or not the Bills are contenders or pretenders. So let's make the case, laying all the facts out in favor of the Buffalo Bills being contenders. So this year, right now, they're 5th, as I mentioned, 5th in scoring. Okay, 28.3 points per game this year. All right. They have the number 1 rushing yards per game. All right, they're 1st in rushing yards per game. They're 2nd in total offensive yards per game, 9th in passing yards per game, 4th in third down percentage, 3rd in offensive touchdowns, and 2nd in rushing touchdowns. Sounds pretty good to me, right? Sounds pretty good. Okay, well, let's take a look at what they did last year. Again, this is last year's team that went all the way to the AFC Championship game and Josh Allen won MVP. How do the Bills now fare against that team last year, who many would say was far better than the team is right now? Well, this time last year, the Buffalo Bills they were ranked 2nd in points per game at 30.9. Okay, after 11 games. And so the Bills last year, when it comes to points per game, are just a field goal more than the Bills are this year right now. Only 3 points more per game. Let's keep a look. Let's keep looking. They were 10th in total offensive yards, 9th in passing yards per game, 1st in rushing yards per game, 3rd in offensive touchdowns, 2nd in rushing touchdowns, and roughly 4th in third down percentage last year. That seems very close to what the Buffalo Bills offense is doing this year, in a year where it just doesn't feel good, or it doesn't feel the same. Something feels off. And though those feelings are valid, the statistics are pointing to a team offensively that is still on par, and in many cases ahead of last year's team that went to the AFC Championship game. Okay? Now, additionally, the Buffalo Bills this year had wins over the Kansas City Chiefs 28-21 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 44-32. Those two games, those two wins show that the Buffalo Bills can beat playoff caliber teams. In addition to that, you have to factor in the experience that this team has. This team is not rookies. They know what it takes not just to make it to the playoffs, but to have a deep run in the playoffs. Let me just jog your memory for a second. 2 years ago, the Buffalo Bills, 2023 season, 2 years ago, the Buffalo Bills were not looking that good. At that time, Ken Dorsey was the offensive coordinator. You guys remember this. Ken Dorsey, offensive coordinator. Let's fast forward. Let's see here. What week do I want to fast forward to? I think it was week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, week 10. Week 10. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's NFL week 10, 2023. The Broncos at the Buffalo Bills. Do you know what happened? The Broncos surprisingly and shockingly beat the Buffalo Bills at home 24-22. You care to guess the Bills' record at the end of that game? Yeah, I'll tell you. The Bills were 5-5. 5-5. This was November the 13th, 2023. The Buffalo Bills were 5-5 after that horrendous loss to the then Russell Wilson-led Denver Broncos. Now, we know that immediately following that loss prompted Sean Montgomery to fire Ken Dorsey and promote then quarterbacks coach Joe Brady to be the interim offensive coordinator. So the Bills were 5-5. The following week, November the 19th, the Buffalo Bills hosted the New York Jets, and they obliterated them 32-6, improving their record to 6-5. But then after that, the following week after that, November the 26th, same time as right now, the Bills went to Philadelphia against that juggernaut of a team, and they played their tails off, taking the Philadelphia Eagles all the way to overtime. In the rain, remember, where unfortunately for the Buffalo Bills, they lost that game to a last-second incredible drive by the Eagles, ended in a last-second Jalen Hurts touchdown run, securing the victory for the Eagles in overtime, and they won 37-34. That dropped the Bills to 6-6, heading into a late Week 13 bye week. 6-6, 12 games in, 6-6. 11 games in, 6-5. Where are the Bills right now? 11 games in, they're 7-4. So this time last year, or 2 years ago, the Buffalo Bills were roughly 2 games below where the Bills currently stand right now. Roughly. Again, the Bills haven't played their matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so we don't know. Assuming that, let's say the Bills win against Pittsburgh, the Bills will be 8-4. They'll be 2 games ahead of the Bills 2 years ago, 8 games in. If the Bills lose, the Bills currently will only be 1 game ahead. But you get my drift, right? You get my point. 6-6 ahead of entering the Week 13 bye week in 2023. Every Bills fan, every single one of them, wherever they were, every single Bills fan were sweating bullets. Because we know the sweet spot for wins to get you into the playoffs, 10 wins in the AFC, 10. You can't lose any more than 6 games. 7 maybe with the new, extra game, 17 games and up. 10-7 at best. That's it. I mean, at worst, that's it. The Bills were 6-6. You want to know who they had to face coming out of the bye at 6-6? Let me jog your memory. Let me refresh your memory. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys at home, the Chargers in Los Angeles, the Patriots, and then they had to finally face off against the Miami Dolphins at home, who were on a tear that year as well. So the Bills had a daunting task ahead of them. 5 games remaining, the Bills sitting at 6-6. What did the Bills do? Again, we're talking about why they're contenders and why this playoff experience matters. After the bye week, the Buffalo Bills went on a remarkable run, winning not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 of the remaining games to close out the season at 11-6. And they won the last game against Miami for the division in Miami, 21-14. The Buffalo Bills, 11-6. Wild card spot. But they finished the season, made a run, got in the playoffs. All the way to the divisional round. Whooped the Steelers in the wild card, 31-17. Lost to their arch nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs, in the divisional round, 27-24, when the Chiefs came to Buffalo and won. So why am I saying this? I'm bringing this up and saying this because the Bills' playoff experience is nothing to gloss over. They've been in this situation before. They've been in fact, as I just proved, they were in a worse situation than the Bills currently are right now, record-wise. You can even go back to 2021. The Bills had the same problem. They had to go on a run. So my thing is this. They have that history. They know what it takes. They know when they need to press go and go on a run to get in the postseason. And then once they get in the postseason, we've seen this team has not had a first-round exit in the postseason since the first-round exit against the Houston Texans in Josh's, his second year? That was back in 2019? They've made it to at least the divisional round or the AFC Championship game ever since. So this team knows it. They're built for it. So when you look at the offensive rankings compared to last year, and then you look at the history and the experience, the resilience that this team has, that they can rely on, why wouldn't you believe them to be contenders? And let me remind you, they have Josh Allen still in his prime. I get it. I know it doesn't look good. I know it doesn't feel good. But statistically, Josh this year is actually better than Josh was last year. From a passing yard standpoint, a rushing yards and rushing touchdown standpoint. Touchdowns, passing touchdowns, exactly the same at 18. The difference, Josh is throwing 4 more interceptions this year than he did last year at this time. That he has doubled his rushing touchdown number. Again, are the Buffalo Bills contenders? You let me know. Now, let's move on. Let's transition and let's make the case against. Again, let's play devil's advocate here. I want to make the case and lay it all out for you all to decide whether or not the Buffalo Bills are contenders, or now whether or not you believe them to be pretenders and just waiting for the inevitable to happen, which is they don't make the playoffs, or if they do, they're a first-round exit. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think so far? But now let me lay out the facts that indicate the Buffalo Bills might be pretenders this year. For one, I think one of the main things that sticks with Bills fans right now when talking about whether or not this team is a true contender is their inconsistency, especially on offense. Now, we know the defense, like, it's hard to really fault the defense because for 6 games of the season, 6 games of the first 6 games of the season, we didn't get a chance to see who they truly were defensively. We had 2 players that were on suspension in Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi. I, for one, thought that there's no way in the world that those 2 guys who are backups and role players would make any type of significant impact on the defense that made them feel like, oh, this defense is legit. Because the first 6 games, the defense looked bad. Well, boy, was I wrong. Because as soon as Michael Hoyt and Ogunjobi got back, we saw exactly what that defense looked like and exactly the vision that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have for the defense this year. It's why they went out. Why they had a predominantly defensive heavy draft, and why they went after these guys in free agency. We saw it. Unfortunately, the Bills sustained critical injuries to key players across the defense. I'm talking about losing guys like Ed Oliver in the Carolina Panthers game. and then when we saw Michael Hoyt for 1 game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that defense looked remarkable. We have never seen a Buffalo Bills defense look like that and put that much heat and pressure on Patrick Mahomes ever in the Sean McDermott era, ever. Only to sadly and unfortunately lose Michael Hoyt to a season-ending Achilles injury. And boy, oh boy, did that defense look so much different. It's vastly different with him out of the game. And then we're looking at players like Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard injured. We can tell, we can see the film, we can see he's not himself. All right. And so forth and so on. Like these guys, the Bills defense is just, they're holding on to a thread right now. And Sean McDermott, Bobby Babbitt are doing everything they can to field a competitive defense. But we know they're going down to the bottom of the barrel here. Now losing guys like Terrell Bernard, who I think he needs to sit down anyway because he's just hurting the team. We could clearly tell that he was injured and he was compromised. But he's out. And the Bills are now having to sign former veteran players like Shaq Lawson, who they've recently signed to the practice squad, to fill in these key roles, because you got guys like Joey Bosa who's tailing off because he's dealing with a wrist injury that he's been dealing with for the past few weeks. that's significantly compromised his production. So I can't really blame the defense right now. They're compromised. They're handicapped. Oh, and Maxwell Harrison is in concussion protocol. So you got all of these issues going on in the defense. But to me, I'm not pointing the fingers at the defense. I'm not. Where the inconsistencies lie is on the offensive side of the ball. You look at losses to the Miami Dolphins, for crying out loud, 13-30. I cannot remember the last time the Buffalo Bills lost by that kind of a margin. I don't remember it. 17-point loss. When has that happened? When's the last time the Bills have lost a game by 17 points? I've got to go back here. I'm scrolling back. I'm looking all the way to, what am I at? 2024, let's say 2023. I'm looking. I cannot find the last time the Bills lost by that kind of a margin. 23. Nope, don't say anything. I'm looking. I see, okay, the Jags in 23, Bills lost by 5. I've got to go all the way back to 2022. Let's see. Losses. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Lost to the Vikings by 3. I don't see it. And 2022 was, they had a monster year. I've got to go all the way back. Let's see. Oh my gosh. This it's taking that much time because the Bills don't lose by that kind of a margin. In 2021, they lost to the Buccaneers 27-33. They lost by 5 points. No. 6 points. When is it last time? Okay, here it is. Here it is. You got to go all the way back to 2021. November 21st, 2021. Bills Colts. Or Colts at Bills. Where the Colts beat them 41-15. I remember that game. Jonathan Taylor ran all over the Buffalo Bills defense. 41-15. That was the last time the Bills have lost a game by what, a double-digit margin. They just don't lose like that. When they lose, it's a narrow victory by 3 points. So for them to lose to the Miami Dolphins in Miami, a team that was selling off their team, traded away Jalen Phillips, the top pass rusher, was seriously considering trading away Jalen Waddle, and had the Buffalo Bills, had Brandon Beane, sweeten the trade value, pot. Instead of offering a 2027 first round pick, he offered a 2026 first round pick. They might have given up Jalen Waddle. They didn't. They stayed pat. The Bills didn't do anything. So the Dolphins stayed pat. And that team, with all the question marks, Mike McDaniel's question mark, and as a team failed them, and all that kind of stuff, and Tua Tagovailoa and all this, they beat the Bills resoundingly by 17 points. Again, it's 4 years ago when the Bills have lost by a double-digit margin. You cannot have that. And the Bills own the Dolphins. Then, early on in the year, you got losses to the Patriots, a loss to the Patriots, 3-point loss. We didn't know that came out of nowhere. But looking at the Patriots now at 10-2, we can see, okay, well, that was a decent loss. But then they follow that loss up with the loss of the Falcons, 24-14. A 10-point loss. And the Falcons are nothing right now. The Falcons were 3-2 at the time. But where are they right now? Well, let's take a look at the standings. The Falcons right now, sheesh, They're 4-7. 4-7 for crying out loud. 4-7. And we lost to them boys by 10 points. And then if that wasn't enough, we turn around, go to Houston on a short week, and I get it, short week. I don't like the Thursday night football games, especially on the road. But we lose to them. And it's terrible loss. 4-point loss. Bills still could have won that game, but the offense was... That had to have been the worst offensive performance I have seen in a long time. They got destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. So I'm looking at just those games right there, those losses, and the inconsistency. And it's no wonder people are believing that the Bills are pretenders, that even though they're 7-4 right now, we see who they really are. They're a highly inconsistent team and just waiting on the ultimate demise. This offense is a roller coaster right now. Many would say the offense is bipolar. Up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, they have a horrible loss, but then the following week they make up for that horrible loss against a good team and they have a great win. Like when they lost against the Patriots, and they had back-to-back losses against the Patriots and then the Falcons. But like, hold on, what's going on here? This is not the Bills we know. Or then they go into Carolina and just beat the brakes off of them 40-9. And then they take that momentum into Buffalo to play the Kansas City Chiefs and destroy them 28-21. But then what do they do right after that? They go to Miami and blow. Just they blow a turd, losing by 17 points, 30-13. Then the following week, they kind of redeem themselves back at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a solid team, playoff team, 44 points, 44-32. The Bills are back. The offense is back. Josh Allen's back. Joe Brady, they got it. It's okay. We're all right. Or are they? Go to Houston, put up 19 points, get beat 23-19. Like, who are these Bills right now? Who are they? Highly inconsistent. You look at Josh Allen under pressure last week against the Texans, sacked 8 times. When's the last time that's happened? The offensive line that's supposed to be, one of the top offensive lines in the NFL, at least for the last couple of years, they got destroyed. And then you have questions about Joe Brady. So you got Joe Brady and his inconsistencies as a play caller have come into question. Like, why would you put your offensive line and Josh Allen in that position last week? Why? We hear comments coming from D'Amico Ryan that said that, man, we have never seen a game plan like that before, because typically teams that play us, they put max protection, 6-man protection, 7-man protection. The Bills put 5 guys. That's it. Just their offensive line against that vaunted pass rush. And he was like, I don't know what in the world they were thinking. And that's what he wanted to say. He wanted to say they were stupid. He said they put a lot of stress on their O-line and on Josh Allen. Like, what was Joe Brady thinking? You just think that, hey, we're gonna spread the ball out. We're gonna put Josh in the gun, and no max protection, mano a mano, our O-line against their defensive line and their edge rushers that are the best in the NFL. Not even a chip, nothing. All game, not even a chip, and we'll be fine. Wrong. 8 sacks. Then you lose Spencer Brown to a shoulder injury. Crazy work, man. Like, that's the kind of inconsistencies we're talking about. That's exactly why there's a growing minority of Bills fans that don't believe the hype, that don't believe who these Bills claim to be at 7-4. They don't believe it. And we could talk about the comparisons all we want, but we see that we see what it looks like up and down. Can you live off of these kind of inconsistencies going forward and into the playoffs? You can't. And we've talked about the defense and how handicapped they are. We know that this current iteration of the Buffalo Bills revolves around the offense. When the offense is on, the team wins. But when they're off, the team loses. You don't believe me? When is the last time? Look at the wins. The Bills wins this year. Name me a win this year where the Bills defense, where the Bills offense was off and the Bills defense won them the game. Name it. When? You can't. Let's go back. We know they lost last week against the Texans. Offense was bad. Did the defense win them the game? No. They almost did in the second half, right? Limiting the Texans' offense to only 3 points in the second half. But by then, the damage has already been done. They gave up 20 points in the first half. And when the Bills had gained momentum after that Ray Davis kick return for a touchdown that gave the Bills the lead, I think it was 19-16 or something like that, right? What did the Bills defense do immediately after that with a little under 2 minutes to go in the first half? They let backup quarterback Davis Mills drive the field and score a touchdown to give them the lead going into the half. I think they had the lead 20-19 heading into half. All they had to do was make a stop. Keep Davis Mills in that offense from scoring. At the very least, let him get a field goal. But they allowed him in a 2-minute drill to take the offense down the field and score a touchdown and go up 20-19. That was it. They didn't make a stop. The Bills' offense was bad. Did the defense show up to help them out and win the game? No. Let's go back. Buccaneers, Bills won that game. Dolphins, Bills put up 13 points. What did the defense do? They gave up 30 to Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Look at another loss. Falcons. Bills' offense was off. 14 points put up on the board by the Bills' offense. What did the Bills' defense do? Gave up 24 points to Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons. Let Drake London have his way. And Bijan Robinson ran all over him. All they had was two players, and they couldn't stop those two. They made them look like, well, who they are. They couldn't stop them. Okay. Let's back that train up again. Patriots the week before. Bills offense, 20 points. What did the defense do? Gave up 23. So we have gone through every single Bills loss this year. And there is not a single one of them where the Bills offense was off and the defense stepped up and closed the game out and gave the Bills the win. There's not one. What does this tell me? This tells me, again, that this team goes where the offense goes. That's why there's so much frustration right now in Bills Mafia. It's because, yeah, even though they're 7-4, the 7-4 looks like a fraud 7-4 to a lot of fans. Because If this offense is off, if this offense has a down week, this team is going to lose. They don't win. When Joe Brady and Josh Allen are off and the offense is off, they can't score points. Guess what happens? The defense can't make a stop. They can't. And obviously, of course, if the offense doesn't score points, the defense isn't going to do it, right? But if the offense doesn't, what's the threshold? What's the point threshold here for Bills win? What is it? Let's see this year. Is it 20? The Bills scored 20 points. Are they winning? Let's look at the wins. Okay, 41 to the Ravens, 30 against the Jets, 31 against the Dolphins in the early part of the year, 31 to the Saints. Okay, they lose to the Patriots, 23-20, lose to the Falcons, 24-14, 40 points against the Panthers, 28 points against the Chiefs. They win that game. It looks to me that it's 21 points. If the Bills do not score 21 points, they lose the game. First to 20. 21 wouldn't have been enough against the Chiefs because the Chiefs scored 21 points. The Bills won 28-21. Outside of that, it's first to 20. If the Bills don't score 20 points on offense, they lose the game. They lose it. What are you going to do with that? Huh? What can you do with that? So again, this team right now goes where the offense takes them. That's why it's so important for Joe Brady, Josh Allen to get their acts together on a consistent basis. Consistent basis. But now here's one thing. I wonder if, just looking at this team, looking at the losses, looking at the wins, I wonder if this team does it on purpose to a degree. And of course, I'm not saying that they lose on purpose, but what I am saying is this: does this team lay off the gas on purpose after a statement win? You've seen a statement loss the week after. Or you can do it in reverse order. After a statement loss that was like, what in the world are they thinking? How did they lose that game? They follow that up with a statement win. Following the statement win, they have a what the heck loss. Let's look at it. You had back-to-back losses to the Patriots and the Falcons after the Bills started the year off 4-0. They lost 2 straight. What the heck? What the hecky, yo? What the hecky, bro? 2 straight losses. What do? They reel off 2 straight statement wins. 40 burger over the Panthers, 40-9, and then a complete and utter dominating performance over the Kansas City Chiefs, 28-21, and the score did not indicate just how badly the Bills beat them. 2 what the heck losses, followed by back-to-back statement wins. What happened after that statement win against the Chiefs? What the heck loss to the Miami Dolphins, 30-13. Oh, dang. A what the heck loss? Let's just remind everybody who we are. At home, against the Bucs, statement win, 44-32. What did they do right after that statement win? Short week, lay off the gas, go down to Houston, lose, 23-19. I'm just asking the question. Could it be that this Bills team has learned or has adopted this mentality where it's like, all right, we have for years seen that number 1 seed, and that has been our goal in the postseason. Get the 1 seed, get the 1 seed, get the 1 seed. We face adversity. We're a resilient group. But year after year, we've shown that we can go on a run, an incredible run. A 5-game win streak 2 years ago. 2021, I think it was another 5-game or 6-game win streak. Like that exerts a lot of energy on a football team entering into the playoffs. I know it sounds good. It feels good for fans to see this team rip off 5-6 straight wins, 5 wins to close out the regular season, and then 1 win in the playoffs. But that's taxing on a football team in reality. So maybe, or is it possible that this team has adopted a coast mentality where they do just enough to stay above water and they're okay with the loss here or there, and when they feel like, all right, we're getting below water, let's have a statement win or two to get our heads back above water, to remind everybody who we are. And then after that, we coast. Maybe they've adopted that coast mentality to save themselves for the playoffs mentally and in cases physically. Now, I know it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like so physically because the Bills defense are decimated by injuries right now. But you can't expect a team to, close out the season like the Bills right now, 6 games remaining. If they go in and they're a wild card team, they have to win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl. So if you factor in the 6 remaining games of the regular season plus 3 playoff wins just to get to that's 9 straight wins. Not even including the Super Bowl, assuming they get there in order to get there. Then if they win it, you're talking about 10 straight wins. That's unheard of. That is so incredibly difficult. So maybe we as Bills fans need to temper expectations and understand something here. The Bills could be a step ahead psychologically of everybody else in terms of this. They are saying, hey, we are not going to exert ourselves to close out the season. We know who we are. We know what we can do. We've got a resume behind us. We know what we're capable of. And even though we have some deficiencies on defense and there's some inconsistencies on offense, we can turn on the switch. We're just trying to get in. And once we're in and that switch comes on, look out. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe I've just been tripping the entire time. You let me know what you think, Bills Mafia. Is it plausible for them to have been doing that? Are they contenders still, or are they pretenders? Maybe we're looking at it all wrong here. You let me know what you think. But what I know is the Bills currently have 6 games ahead of them right now. The Bills are 7-4. And yes, they are the 7th seed in the current AFC standings right now. And that's just an uncomfortable spot to be in because we have not seen this team be in this spot right now. I mean, let me take that back. We've seen them have to fight and claw to get their way back in. We've seen it. Okay. But we don't like it. And I think here's what adds to the uncomfortability, if I may, amongst Bills fans. It's not that the Bills are 7-4 and that, they're the 7th seed in the AFC standings right now. I think it's less about that and more about who's around them. What I mean by that is this. When you look at the top 4 teams right now, the division leaders, Patriots, Broncos, Colts, Ravens. Okay. Outside of the Ravens, let's just look at the top 3. Patriots, Broncos, and Colts. They're firmly ahead. Patriots 10-2, Broncos 9-2, Colts 8-3. Ravens in the 4th spot right now. They're currently are leading their division at 6-5 with wins tiebreak over Pittsburgh based on the best win percentage in division games. But one loss, and if the Ravens win and if the Ravens lose and the Steelers win, they flips roles, right? The Steelers, who are currently the 9 spot, jump up to the 4 because they lead the division. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really counting them right now. So we got the top 3 who are, in firm control of the divisions and the playoff seeding right now. But look at the teams that are currently around them. Outside of the Ravens, who are 6-5, let's look at the Chargers, the Jags, and the Bills. All 3 have the same exact record, 7-4. Chargers have the greater conference record at 6-2. Right? Wins tiebreak. They win tiebreak over Buffalo and Jacksonville based on best win percentage in the conference games. So that's why the Chargers are the 5th seed, even though they have the same overall win-loss record as the Jags and the Bills. Okay. The Jags are 4-2 in the conference. Okay. Their wins tiebreak over Buffalo based on best win percentage in conference games. So they have a better conference record, even though they've played less conference games, one less conference game than the Bills have. The Bills currently 7-4, 4-3 in the conference. It's muddy right there. It's uncomfortable. But let's look at right below them, because we can't get too comfortable right now at the 7 seed. Let's look who's right behind the Bills. The Houston Texans at 6-5, who are slated to get C.J. Stroud back. 6-5 right now. 1 game back from the Bills. But when you look at their conference record, they're 5-2 in the conference. Wins the tiebreak over Pittsburgh based on strength of schedule. Wins tiebreak over Kansas City based on best win percentage in conference games. They have the tiebreak or the head-to-head over the Bills. That's why this last game was so important for both teams. That's why you saw the Texans go all out. They were desperate for that win. They had to win that game. The Bills, finger quote, had to win that game too to give themselves some cushion. Because if they slip, and if everything holds the same, which we know it won't, but assuming everything holds the same, and let's say the Bills and the Texans end with the same overall record, guess who's in and who's out? Yeah, you got it. The Texans are in with the head-to-head over the Bills, and the Bills are out. But we can't stop there. Because of the 9 seed, we get the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 6-5 and 5-2 in the conference. And their wins tiebreak, they win the tiebreak over the Kansas City based on the best win percentage in conference games. They have a better conference record than the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 6-5 as well in the 10th spot, but they're 3-4 in the conference. It's muddy. The Bills are in muddy water right now, muddy territory. I mean, at any point from 5 to the 10 seed, anything can happen. Anything can happen. They cannot get comfortable where they are right now. And this game against the Steelers is humongous. The Bills cannot afford to lose this game. The Steelers already have the greater conference record at 5-2, and then they're going to be playing. So now it's going to be another conference game. If the Steelers win, that bumps their conference record at 6-2, and the Bills go to 4-4. That drops them likely down to the 9 seed, depending upon what happens with the Texans. That is crazy. So that's why I think, there's a contingency of Bills fans who we're just uncomfortable right now. We're so uncomfortable because the Bills don't have any cushion. Every time they get a win, they get the statement win. They give them a little bit of cushion. Then they have a what the heck loss that eats at that cushion. And then they have to go back and try to get some more cushion only to lose the week after. So like They have to get it together right now. So, how must win is it right now? Well, to me, we look at the playoff picture. The playoff run begins right now. It begins right now. Any loss, as I mentioned, could be fatal. Absolutely fatal. Again, we got 6 games, but we see how jam-packed it is from the 5 seed all the way to the 10. Every single team is fighting for position. They're all jockeying for position right now. 6 teams battling for, I would say, the final 3 spots in the postseason. That is a highly competitive place to be. And I think the NFL loves it right now. So the Bills are going to Acrisure Stadium against the Steelers in a must-win game. Must win. Must win for both. How many wins are needed? Would you say, how many wins would you say are needed to secure a playoff spot? Comfortably secure a playoff spot. I think we can, typically we're like, all right, 10 wins get you in, right? 10 and in. But is it possible for 10 not to be enough this year with the way the bottom of the playoffs seating right now looks right now from 5 to 10? Is it possible that 10 is not enough? Do they need 11? I think the Bills must win at least 4 of the final 6 games. At least 4. At least 4. So, where are those 4 games coming from? Where are they coming from? Well, I mean, let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Who do the Bills currently have on the schedule? Let's look. Currently, the Bills are playing. They have the Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Browns, Eagles, Jets. What are the 4 teams that the Bills can beat? Give me 4. What do you think? I mean, maybe. I mean, let's say. All right, let's say the Steelers. Do the Bills beat the Steelers? All right, that's 1. And it's going to be a tough game because Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. You're without your starting right tackle and Spencer Brown, going up against T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. That pass rush is going to be sitting there licking the chops, going up against Alex Vandermark and possibly Tylen Grable, who the Bills just elevated. Do you think that the Bills offense could win this game against that pass rush? And that defense is nothing to play with. That's going to be a tough game. Let's say the Bills lose that game. It's weird because the last time the Bills lost back-to-back games was, again, against the Patriots and the Falcons. I don't think there's a time in recent history where the Bills have lost back-to-back games twice in a season. I could be wrong, but I don't think they've lost twice in back-to-back in the same season. I mean, I've got to go back, and that means the Bills lose 4 games, and the Bills don't lose 4 games very often. When's the last time that happened? I don't see it. It didn't happen in 2023. I don't think it happened in 2022. They were explosive that year. So it just doesn't happen. So part of me thinks that based on history, they'll beat the Steelers. But it's going to be difficult just because of injuries right now across with Spencer Brown. That's my only hang up. Defensively, it's going to be tough because Aaron Rodgers can sling it. He's got weapons. DK Metcalf, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be a tough game. Jaylen Warren in the ground. We'll have to see. But let's just say the Bills lose. What else is going to happen? Where are their other wins coming from? Remember, they need to get 3 to get to 10, 4 to be comfortable at 11. Okay? So if they lose to the Steelers, that puts them at 4-4 in the conference. All right? 7-5. All right? What about the following week against the Bengals? Likely going to be the Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins back. What do you think? That's going to be a tough game. I don't care what the record says. Throw record out the window. And I know the Bengals defense is atrocious. But again, it's matchup. Bengals offense, highly potent offense versus the Bills' bad defense. Bills' inconsistent offense against a bad Bengals defense. It's probably going to be a shootout. If the Bills lose to the Steelers, they have to beat the Bengals. They cannot have 3 straight losses or the season is done. If they lose to the Bengals, the season is done. Wrap it up. 7-6. Another conference loss with 3 more to go. They have to win. They would have to win out. Going into the Patriots, they would have to win against the Patriots, the Browns. Man, do they want to consider losing to the Eagles and then have to beat the Jets? But if they lose to the Steelers at 7-5, they got to beat the Bengals. So let's say they beat the Bengals. Tough game. Bills offense gets back on track. They don't lose 3 straight games ever. The Bills win against the Bengals. The Bills are now 8-5. Going into New England, this game is not for the AFC East. The Patriots are firmly in control of that. The Bills are fighting for the playoff spot right now. But they want revenge. Did the Bills beat the Patriots in New England? Assuming the New England Patriots probably got 2 more wins on their belt. They're 12-2. They probably already clinched the playoffs with a win. So it's too soon for them to be resting starters. But the stakes aren't that high for them. The Bills win. All right. 9-5. Now you go to Cleveland. You got to play that tough defense. Myles Garrett is an animal. Destroys everybody. They got a defense, but you also have Shedeur Sanders, Jerry Jeudy. The Bills should be able to win that game. Okay? So where are they at right now? 7-5 against the Steelers, 8-5 against the Bengals, 9-5 against the Patriots. There's your 10th win. 10th win against the Browns. They have to rail off 3 straight if they lose to the Steelers. 9-5 against the Browns. Home against the Eagles. What do? They can win, they can lose. I don't think that's really going to matter any. Let's say they lose that game. Okay? 9-6. The final game. The final game of the regular season at home, which could be the final game at Highmark Stadium, at this Highmark Stadium, could be win and get in, lose and get home and go home. They'd have to win that. They have to beat the Jets. They have to. But you better believe that the Jets are going to be looking to play spoiler. So there it is. They're either 10-7, 11-6. But I think 10-6 is too close. I do. I think 10-6 is going to be too close. They're probably going to have to need to win 11 games. 11. Is it possible? I think it's possible. I think it's possible, Bills Mafia. But you guys let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And do me this favor. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. All right. Closing out the show. In closing, I want to pose this question to all of Bills Mafia. Do you trust the Bills to make a deep playoff run, or are they simply hanging on right now? What do you think? Are they making a deep playoff run, or are they simply hanging on? And if by hanging on could mean first round exit, get in and they get sent right back home, or hanging on to try to make it to the playoffs, but ultimately failing to make the playoffs and they do not get it in at all. At which point, a lot of questions will be asked that need to be answered if that happens. A lot of questions. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I don't want to go there yet, but I think Bills Mafia, just go ahead and just put a pin in that one right there. Ask yourself that question, but follow the way. What if the Bills don't make the postseason? File that one away. We might have to revisit it. We might not. We might just go ahead and delete that thing. Okay. 6 more games to go. A lot of football left. The Bills' future is currently ahead of them. Everything is ahead of them right now. But let me know what you think. Are they going to make a deep run, or are they simply hanging on? I've got my thoughts, but I want to hear yours. I laid out the argument, the case for whether or not the Buffalo Bills are contenders still, even though it doesn't feel like it, or are they simply pretenders waiting for their inevitable collapse and possible missing of the postseason? You tell me which side of the argument you land on. Are the Bills contenders, or are they pretenders? Are they going to make a deep playoff run, or are they simply hanging on? Again, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, baby. But until next time, this is Rev wishing every single one of you a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rated Rev Show. Grace and peace. God bless. And as always, Bills Mafia, go Bills. I'll see you next time.